Thank you, sir. Now, we invite our distinguished panel members on the stage. Mr. Alok Singh, Chief Executive Officer, Novatium.
Mr. Amit Sinha, Associate Vice President, 197 Communications.
Mr. Ashwin Raghuraman, NASSCOM IKP India Innovation Fund.
And Ms. Hilani Galpaya, Chief Operating Officer, Lin Asia.
On the behalf of Symbiosis Institute of Telecom Management, we welcome you all.
As I'd mentioned earlier, this is the stage that we're now playing in. We've got a very challenging environment for serving ICT to the rural areas, and I think we've got some experts who have personal experience in how to address these issues. So the first question we're going to start off with is essentially, we're going to ask each of our panelists to, from their viewpoint, tell us what is the key thing that they believe will help overcome some of these hurdles, and what are the solutions that they see developing out there. I think if we can start over here to my left, we'll start with Ashwin and get his views, given the work that he's been doing with NASSCOM.
Yeah, thanks a lot. As I heard the initial introduction to this session and then a few of the questions that were put up, I got the distinct sense that there was a little bit of pessimism that was going around as far as the bottom of the pyramid markets were concerned. I have a slightly different view, and which is driven with a lot of optimism on the basis of what I've seen in terms of innovations that have happened in India over the past few years. And I believe there's excellent potential to try and tap these markets. Just want to speak about a couple of these. 2 years back, Texas Instruments, from its India office, developed a system on chip that they call the low-costo. And what this essentially did was to enable the world's first single-chip mobile device. The ramifications of that was that you could now have a sub-$40 mobile phone, which is less than 1,000 rupees or so. What happened post that is the fact that you had this phone, but you couldn't deliver value-added services, simply because the platforms that were used to deliver value-added services had too large a footprint to sit on this system on chip that they built. And then they worked with an entrepreneur, which was incubated at IIM Bangalore, a company called Mango Technologies, which worked together with Texas Instruments and some of the other large companies like Qualcomm to actually build a platform, technology platform, that could deliver value-enabled services and would have a footprint that was small enough to sit on a single-chip mobile phone. Again, 2 years back, there was a blog that I was reading on the internet, and there was this guy.
Services going. Amit, why don't we jump to you next? Given your work at 197, given that you've been exploring new services for the bottom of the pyramid or the base of the pyramid, what are your views on this entrepreneurial outlook and reaching out to customers, giving them what they want, what they need?
Yeah. So first I would like to take a step back to just see what is the value actually that the consumer sees in ICT as a thing. So if there is value in the customer's eyes in terms of ICT enabled services, he will go for it. To my mind, the biggest challenge that an ICT, either a mobile-based thing or an internet-based thing does, is that it removes those barriers to the access to services and information that is prevalent in a lot of, most of the regions of the country. Going beyond the cities, there are a huge number of challenges in accessing those services or information for stuff. So I think ICT does break a lot of those barriers and enables those customers to access those services or those information which otherwise they would not have been able to do. So yeah, there is a lot of value in it. The challenge obviously is how to deliver the value packaged in a way that it suits one, the customer's wallet and his needs. So if you look at the typical, I would say, structure of the services, it would have three components. One is either the content or the application or the service which you are talking about. The other is the delivery medium, whether it is on a mobile phone, whether it is on a internet kiosk-based model or on a PC or whatever. And the third would be the business model, which would be more to do with whether it is a long-term contract of say a 30 rupee per month, or it's a chassis-based pricing of a rupee a day kind of a thing, or say only a single transaction. So I do one transaction, I pay for one transaction, and that's the end of it. So typically we will have to arrive at a matrix of these three dimensions on which we can offer a service which is suitable.
Challenge, and let me try to throw more questions than I would try to answer in this 3 minutes. I think a lot of time when we look into rural, we talk about bottom of the pyramid and these goes together. A lot of time we confuse between these two. Let me try to separate these two out. Rural market, we are talking about basically a network deprived market. It's not about affordability. In rural there are people who can afford computer, they can afford networks, they can afford to buy a computer, but they cannot because there is no network out there. So, and the second is we talk about non-consumption market. Now, non-consumption market is in urban and rural both. And let's try to address that in an urban market, why people are not consuming computing, right? And that's the key, because if we address that issue, probably we'll address an issue how to take it to the urban or to the rural market as well. Now, there are two major issues which we see on the computing as a platform. And I do agree that there are a lot of services which you can provide through a computer and which can be provided through internet, mobile phones and other things as well. But computing as a dominant design is a very useful platform, and that's going to be there. So it's better we find a solution than try to run away from it and saying that can the mobile be an alternate of computing? To some extent, yes. To a great extent for viewing content, yes. But as far as the creation of the content comes in, I think we have to make a compromise if we go on any other device. So there are two major issues for non-consumption. One, which we talk a lot, is about affordability.
CSCs are the kiosks,
The kiosks,
right? Okay, right. So what we've seen across the board, and I'm talking about South Africa, Sri Lanka, many other countries, is that when the government has gotten into the business of running telecenters, compared to an entrepreneur who's either homegrown or trained and with private sector involvement running, the first model is less successful and often unsuccessful. In Sri Lanka, we're talking about 500 telecenters being implemented, and the World Bank coming and saying, oh, we've got 6 that are working. Now, that's a miserable, and working in the sense, not because they're really making money, but because there are things we can learn from them. So that's not a good record. Proper research in South Africa has shown that the entrepreneurial model works a hell of a lot better than the government-led model. Not that government doesn't have to do anything, that's not the point. So I think who runs it matters. And adding to your point on sort of, this obsession about computers versus something else, I think for the bottom of the pyramid, a lot of times, and this is not to say that, computing in any form is going to die. I think there's a huge role to play. But you really do, I agree with him that you need to think about the device in which that information is delivered to. And that's true whether it's just information delivery, interaction, or transaction. And for all three, either a mobile or a mobile-like device, I think is the way to go for a couple of reasons. I mean, information delivery and interaction is very simple. We talk about all these value-added services, but voice is not going to go away. Right? If you talk to the people at the top of the pyramid or the bottom of the pyramid, what's the most important phone call you've made? It's when a loved one was in hospital, somebody had an accident, your mother died. That does not change based on economic situation, right? You may use it to organize your life with your PDA, but though that's the most important use you'll make of the phone. It's the same across the board, and those things will not go away. They may shift to, IP-based voice or whatever, but they will still stay. So voice is there, and the operators have to